Hello and welcome to another A plus 1102 lesson where I'll be telling you everything you need to know about this set of dot points for exam objective 1.8 and giving you some practice questions at the end to give you an idea of the kind of things you might be asked on your real exam. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight to it. We'll be looking at today from here to the right, so the various file system types, the vendor lifecycle limitations, and the compatibility concerns between operating systems today. We're going to smash it out and get you ready to conquer these dot points of this exam objective. Let's do it. So we'll start off with the different file system types. So essentially there are a wide variety of file system types and each one has pros and cons. Some are designed to work with particular operating systems. Some are designed to handle a certain size of files. Some are designed to be widely compatible with all different operating systems. So we're going to go through what the differences are between each of the ones you'll need to know about for your exam today, so you'll be ready to recognize them and answer questions relating to them on your exam. The first one is NTFS. NTFS, or New Technology File System, is used on Windows operating systems. It offers improved performance, security, and features like file permissions, disk quotas, and journaling for better data recovery, and it supports large files and volumes efficiently, making it suitable for modern storage needs. So the key thing for you really for your exam, what you're likely to be asked is, you're likely to be asked to identify that NTFS is used on Windows systems and is designed specifically for Windows systems. That's going to be one of the key things you'll need to know. The next one is File Allocation Table 32, or FAT 32. It is an older file system used in early Windows versions and various storage devices like USB flash drives. It's limited to file sizes of 4 gigabytes and lacks advanced features like file permissions and journaling. It's still widely used due to its simplicity and compatibility with older devices. So just think, a trick in my mind I used when I was studying for this is it's FAT32. Please don't cancel me, but FAT32, I just think, as you get older, you let yourself go a bit, you become a little bit fat, and you stop being as capable. So FAT32, it's a little bit fat. It's a little bit less capable. It's designed for Windows, but it's gotten fat. It's let itself go. It can't really run as far as it used to be able to, so it can only handle 4 gigabytes of file sizes. That's the trick I use in my mind, anyway. And then you've got the next one is Third Extended File System, or ext3. This is a journaling file system used in Linux distributions. You'll pretty much need to know ext3 is for Linux, really, for your exam. That's what you're likely to be asked. It offers improved performance and reliability compared to the earlier ext versions 1 and 2, and it supports large files and volumes efficiently. And finally, you can probably take a guess at this one, ext4. It's just an improved version of ext3, also designed for Linux, right? So that is what you'll need to know in relation to that. NTFS and FAT32 are Windows. Be aware of the pros and cons between both of those for Windows, and ext3 and 4 are for Linux. Now, the next one's APFS, or Apple File System. Of course, it's designed for Apple. APFS is for Apple. Again, largely, that's what you'll need to know. And then we come to exFAT, or Extensible File Allocation Table, which is a format designed to be highly compatible between different operating systems. So if you have files you want to use on Windows, Mac, and Linux, you may want to go for exFAT because you're going to be able to use that file system type on all of those operating systems. It's highly compatible. It also supports large files and volumes, making it suitable for external storage devices like USB drives. You want to put files into a USB from a Windows and then open them up on a Linux. exFAT is great for that, even if you have large file sizes. So there's a rough guide for what you might want to take into consideration and to how you make your decisions here. Feel free to pause and read that. I'm not going to read through it for you, but just know which operating system each one is designed for. Are they compatible with different operating systems, etc. Right? That's what you'll need to know. Now, vendor lifecycle limitations. There's two sub dot points that one needs to know for this one. The first one is end of life. So every operating system eventually reaches its end of life, and this signifies the point where the vendor, so whether that be Microsoft or Apple, ceases the official support for that specific system. So when you reach end of life, it basically means, there's no more updates, there's not really any more support, you're on your own. So that's when you get additional security issues kind of coming into play because there's no more updates to fix them. So when you reach end of life, you basically have to consider whether or not it's worth getting, and upgrading what you have at the moment to one that does have active support, Or are you just going to keep what you have but be aware of the security risks that come with that, right? So again, that's kind of covered here. Consequences of end-of-life operating systems: increased security risk, software compatibility issues, new software and hardware might not function on outdated operating systems if they're not being updated, etc. Right? You can read through that, but that's essentially what you have to take into consideration. Now, update limitations. Even with supported operating systems that haven't reached end of life, updates might be limited after a certain period. So that can be due to hardware limitations. If you have older hardware, it might not be able to handle the demands of the newer updates, or vendor policy. Vendors might phase out support for older versions to focus resources on newer ones, almost like making you upgrade because they want that cash money, right? But worth considering. It doesn't have to be end of life to be suffering from limitations, from update limitations. So same kind of thing, right? If you're not getting updates, you're not going to be getting new features and functionality offered in newer updates. You're not going to be getting those additional security patches and those bug fixes. So worth being aware of that. It's important to always receive the most up-to-date updates so that you have your security updated. And the final one for this video is the compatibility concerns between operating systems. So compatibility issues between OSs can arise in a bunch of different scenarios, potentially hindering software functionality, data exchange, and overall user experience. We have outdated OS. That's pretty much everything we've been talking about, right? If your operating system is outdated, it's not been updated. So if you try to get software that's designed for newer operating systems on your older operating system, it might not operate at all, and it might not work at all. Or if it does work, it might be very buggy and glitchy, right? Driver compatibility. You are going to want to make sure you have the specific drivers for the specific hardware components for your hardware, but those drivers might not necessarily be available on the particular OS you're using. So you want to make sure that your OS is compatible with the drivers that you need for your hardware. If that's not the case, if you don't have those drivers, that can render your hardware unusable or cause other performance issues. And of course, the file format compatibility, what we were talking about at the start. Different OSs do use different file formats, leading to difficulties opening or editing files created on another system. So again, if you're trying to use NTFS, which is from Windows, on an Apple, that's not going to work, right? That's not going to happen. You got to be aware of that. And then we also have hardware compatibility. So hardware requirements. Some software do have specific hardware requirements that might not be met by all systems. That was largely covered in a previous video, so I don't need to go into that too much. And then driver availability. Driver compatibility is crucial for hardware functionality. If you don't have the right driver for your hardware can't function and do its job. So now it's up to network compatibility as well. So different operating systems might use different network protocols, potentially hindering communication and data transfer between devices. Compatibility settings or specific software might be needed to ensure seamless network connectivity. So you can try to bridge those gaps with additional software, but obviously it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt to do so. And then file sharing. Trying to share files across devices running different operating systems might require specific file formats or compatibility tools. Right now, off the top of our head, if we were trying to share files between a Windows and a Linux, what format would we want to try to use? Based on the ones we've learned about before, 3, 2, 1. We'd want to try to use exFAT, right? exFAT is the one that is highly compatible between a wide variety of operating systems. So that's how we could get around that. Of course, we also always have security concerns. Outdated operating systems are more susceptible to known security vulnerabilities, putting user data and systems at risk, which is why you want to stay updated. So look, some more to read down there, some additional information. But so long as that all made sense to you, you should be all right. Now, let's have a look at some questions that you might be asked for your exam. The first question reads, you need to format a new external hard drive that you plan to use on both Windows and Mac OS computers. Which file system would offer the best compatibility for this scenario? A. NTFS, B. exFAT, C. ext3 or ext4, or D. APFS. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. The answer is B, exFAT. Remember, exFAT is widely compatible between multiple different operating systems. So if you're trying to use files on more than one operating system, you're going to want to use exFAT due to its compatibility. The second question reads, you're formatting the internal drive on your new Windows computer. You prioritize features like file permissions, security, and data recovery options. Which file system is most suitable? A, FAT32, B, NTFS, C, XFAT, D, APFS. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Pause the video if you need to. Now, that is NTFS. So one of the key things for NTFS is its additional security and permissions functionality. So if you really want to have those robust security features, those robust permissions, you're going to want to go for NTFS. But of course, that will also require you to be on Windows. So that's less about looking at what OS uses what file system and more looking at the pros and the cons of the file systems themselves. Yes, next question. This one's good. You are still using an older operating system for your work computer, even though you know it's nearing its end-of-life date. What is the biggest security concern that you should be aware of? A, you might miss out on some new features in future updates. B, the operating system will become incompatible with most software. C, your computer will be more vulnerable to cyber attacks due to a lack of security updates. Or D, technical support from the vendor will no longer be available. Pause the video if you need more time. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. This one was pretty easy. It is C. Your computer will be more vulnerable to cyber attacks due to a lack of security updates, right? So the key thing here is obviously a lot of these are issues, but the question specified what is the biggest security concern. So it's really just a matter of reading the question properly and understanding that out of these 4, being more vulnerable to cyber attacks due to a lack of security is the biggest security concern. It's not good to miss out on new features. It's not as directly related to security as C. The operating system becoming incompatible with software is not directly related to security, unlike C. Technical support, it's true that you will no longer be available, but it's not as specific and directly related to security as the answer C there. We'll do the final question now. You're using an older version of Windows and want to install a new photo editing software. What is the biggest concern regarding compatibility? A, the software might offer fewer features on your specific computer model. B, the software might not function properly or at all. C, you won't be able to connect your printer to the computer for editing purposes. Or D, security updates for the photo editing software might not be available. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Pause the video if you need to. Now, it is B, the software might not function properly or at all. So if your software has requirements that exceed that of your older version of Windows, so it's implied that that might not be the case because it is an older version of Windows. If your software requirements exceed the capabilities of your Windows version, then it might not be able to function whatsoever. So just understanding that is key for your exam. Now look, that being said, if you enjoyed this video, how I broke it down not only by exam objective, but by each dot point within each exam objective, then you'll love what I have at journeytocyber.com. I've got my complete A+ 1102 learning guide over there, where I have comprehensive notes, active recall questions, and practice exam questions, just like you saw here in this video today, broken down by every dot point within the exam, in the same order that they are presented in the exam objective. So it's super easy to follow. Here's what people have been saying about my last learning guide, and the one for this exam is so much better than the last one. They said, your learning guide is actually goated. I don't comment a lot, but it definitely helps with organized information and it helps me piece things together more easily. Thank you so much. Update, your notes definitely helped me pass my test today. Thanks. I downloaded your learning guide already, and I can see that it will help immensely with studying. I tried other popular resources, but struggled absorbing the material. Will you have one available for the 1102? Your lucky day, that's what I'm talking about right now. Head over to journeytocyber.com to grab your learning guide today. So look, if you're interested in that is over at journeytocyber.com for you. You'll be as happy as this guy after you pass your exam from using my resources. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video, and I cannot wait to help guide you through the rest of your 1102 journey. Bye, guys.